Y'all ready to worship tonight? Let's stand on our feet tonight as we worship our God. Come on, y'all ready? I was buried beneath my shame. You can carry that kind of weight. It was my turn till I met you. I was breathing but not alive. All my failures I tried to hide. It was my turn till I met you. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. Do you believe that tonight? Mercy has saved my soul. Now your freedom is all that I know. The old made new, Jesus, when I met you. Oh, what a day when you called my name and I ran out of that grave, of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness to your glorious day. Y'all ready to worship God tonight? Let me hear it. I needed rescue. My sin was heavy. Chains break at the weight of your glory. I needed shelter. I was an orphan. You called me a citizen of heaven. When I was broken, you were my healing. Your love is the air that I'm breathing. I have a future. My eyes are open. 'Cause when you call my name, I ran out of that grave. Y'all doing great tonight. You sound a little better than me. Search the world, but it couldn't fill me. Man's empty praise, treasures that fade are never enough. You came along, put me back together. Every desire is now satisfied here in your love. There is nothing to dancing. You turn beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn slaves into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you. All right, let's pray. Dear Lord, I just thank you for this evening. I just ask that you be with these kids, Lord. I ask that you speak to me and through me, and your will be done, Lord. In your name, amen. So we have been talking about prayer, and our church is encouraging everyone to be in prayer, and I hope you are. And we've also had, a few weeks ago, we discussed about journaling, and some of you are. I know for some people that's hard. I want to encourage you to do that. And I want to bring up Annika here, who is going to share just for a quick second. You can come over here, Annika, to this mic. I forgot to tell them this. But Annika, just share a little bit about your journal and what you're doing.
Okay, so I guess he's having me share my journal because I'm really extra, and I told him this like last week, and then he told me to share it because I'm so extra. So like, I just feel like I need a little more positivity in my life than like what was like told to do in our journals, because like I just felt like for me I need a little more than that. So I'm gonna like cover with my hand the writing part. Probably can't read it from here, but like, so I've been the first of like making something for every month, so I can write down every day something here with the number of the day, like just something that I think that can get better. So like if I'm struggling with something one day, I'll write like a sentence about like something that have faith will get better. And then along with like, you know, the three things that you're thankful for and somebody you can bless, I've been, you know, writing something I'm happy about, something that I'm proud of myself for that day, something I'm looking forward to, something I know that I've accomplished, you know, people I'm thankful for in my life. And like art is something that's really, really like special to me, and I really love art. And so like, so it's something that like it makes me happy, and it like makes me feel a lot better. So like, you know, I have a habit of like getting myself down like a lot, and so something that I usually do is I, you know, draw or something. So that's one of the reasons like I wanted to like start this like after I think it was Terry was my group leader, you know, told us about this. So I've just been probably doing like an hour or two every day, so like get a cover, but like, you know, I've been taking time to, you know, do a special header every day with something I'm feeling. But yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Well, wait, first of all, great job. Would you like a Dutch Bros or a Taco Bell? Dutch Bros, all right. Let's give her a round of applause. That's really cool. That's really cool. So, all right, so now let's get back in this, okay? So let's try to get back into focus. We just played a game that was a battle, okay? Now I'm sure it sounds like there's controversy over here, but we're going to have to let the battle go, all right? So, we just played an innocent little game that was a little battle. I'm going to talk tonight about another battle, okay?
This battle was one of the biggest things that I've ever gone through in my life. And so I'm going to ask that you just take this moment because I want you to hear about my story and I want to see if it touches your life. Remember, we're talking about prayer right now. I want to encourage you guys, whether it's journaling or praying, pray every day. All right? So, when I was a teenager in this church, I was some of your guys' age, some of you at the senior level, and I was at a church party on a Sunday night after church. And I was over at a friend's house, and we had gone there many times. And as soon as it was over, it was time for me to go home, and it was late at night. I got in my car by myself, and I started headed home. Okay? On my way home, right away, as I started on my way home, all of a sudden, an overwhelming sense came over me that told me to stop and go the other way. Now, for a split second, it actually got me to slow down and stop, and then I just kept going. Because it didn't make any sense to me. Why would I stop and go a long way when I know the quick way? So I kept driving down the road. A few miles later, I'm driving down that road, and as I'm going, this feeling came over me again. And it became very strong, and it was, put your seatbelt on. As soon as it came, I thought immediately, man, you're a wuss tonight. What is your problem? That's what I thought. So I ignored it. I just kept driving down the road. As I was going, the feeling became more and more intense. I actually visualized something was going to happen. And it got to the point to where it started to annoy me. And I actually said, I can shut my own conscience up if I just put my seatbelt on. That was a logical thought. So that's what I did. I put my seatbelt on. 1 mile after I put my seatbelt on, a brand new driver, 16 years old, I'm driving down a street going 50 miles an hour. She doesn't look my way at all and stops and pulls right out in front of me sideways. I end up, instead of trying to hit her on, straight on, I swerved, ended up rolling my car 1.5 times and wrapped it around a telephone pole. I'm upside down in my car, hanging by my seatbelt that I just put on. Now, I'm upside down, if you can try to visualize this, and I'm in this deep ditch, and I'm thinking of these movies that I've seen that the car is going to blow up. But I'm also a mess because this is just a violent thing that just happened to me. So I immediately try to get out. The door's jammed. I can't get out. Now I'm kind of like this, trying to get out. So then I try to roll my window down. Now, not to date myself, but we didn't have power windows back then, so we actually had to work to get your window down, right? Okay, so I try to roll the window down, and it's jammed. It won't come down. So I'm like, what do I do? So this is exactly what I did. I'm upside down. I'm still in this car thing where I'm thinking the thing's going to blow up. So I'm going to try to break the window with my elbow. So I'm upside down, and I hit as hard as I can the window to try to get out. And I go, wham! Except I felt nothing. And then I was confused because I was expecting impact, and there's no impact. And this is exactly what I did. I went, am I alive? That's actually what I did. I went, and I took a breath, and I realized the reason there was no impact is this window's completely gone. The roof is caved in. All the windows were smashed. So this is the experience that I'm going through. So I'm like, I got to get out. So I'm upside down, and I click the seatbelt thing, and I never thought of the law of gravity, what happens when you're upside down and you have a seatbelt on. So boom, I hit the ceiling. I end up crawling out. And as I crawled out of the car, I got up the ditch, and I got up to the road, and there's no one there. It's at night, there's no cell phones, and I'm just there. The person that caused the accident fled the scene. And I'm sitting there by myself, and I look at my car, and I cannot believe what's just happened, that I crawled out of that thing. A few minutes later, the person actually came back. They had 3 passengers that were yelling at her to come back. You can't leave somebody that could be dead in the ditch. She ends up apologizing, giving me a ride. She gave me a ride home. I get home. No cops came at this point. Just gave me a ride home. We were going to deal with it in the morning. I'm living over here, and I remember having to walk in and try to tell my dad and mom, wake them up from their sleep, and basically tell them that I almost died tonight, which is a really awkward and uncomfortable thing that I hope nobody has to go through here. So I do that, and I remember my dad saying, "What's going on?" And as I'm talking to him, I rub my hands through my hair trying to figure out the words to say, and I feel stuff in my hair, and I go like this, and all this glass comes out of my hair and falls on the floor. This accident, all of a sudden, the enormity of this whole thing took over, and I realized how bad it was. The next day, the police officer and the tow truck and the people went and saw the vehicle, could not believe that somebody walked away from this accident. And I was blessed. They say lucky. I say I was blessed to be alive. But not without a consequence. I had a severely damaged back. And when I say severely, I mean severely. As time progressed, this was something that happened to me on a regular basis. Now, first of all, I had a goal. I wanted to play college basketball. That was something that was really important to me. At this point, that dream's gone. That's no longer a reality. And as important as that was for me, that was nothing. My dad, on a regular basis, he never told anybody this, but he would help me put my socks on in the morning. This was almost impossible to do. If you've ever had a really bad back, you know that some of the simple things are almost impossible. That's what I did. I am what I thought was invincible, 18, 19 years old. And I'm having to have my dad put my socks on. It was humiliating. Every night, and this is every night, my dad would go, grab the cushions off the couch, lift my legs up, put cushions under my legs, put it back down so I could sleep. I couldn't sleep on my side. I couldn't sleep on my stomach. This was my regular routine. I went on to Clark College and attended school. To drive from Ridgefield to Clark College was too hard for me. If I did that, my back would stiffen up and it would go out. So what I did was I had to drive with the thing reclined, and I'd drive like this, and I pulled over at the rest area almost every day I went and stretched my back and walked by myself. And then I'd go back. I had to go to every professor that I had at Clark. Every professor heard me come up to them and say, "Hi, I'm Randy. I have a severely bad back. Can I please sit in the back? And I'm going to need to stand during your class. I can't sit the whole time." And almost every professor looked at me, and you could see with their eyes like, this guy's a wuss. That's what I saw in their eyes. But I had to do it, and it was tough. So this was my situation. Over a period of time, I went to rehab, physical rehabilitation for my back over 150 times. Now think about that. 150 times, never helped. I prayed, never helped. I went to specialists, I went to massage therapy. I had people telling me about weird things that would maybe work. I went 2 hours once to a guy who had some special fruit and vegetable drink and praying he was going to heal. I tried anything. When you're in enough pain, you'll try anything. I tried, nothing worked. Nothing. I finally got to the point to where the doctor that had been seeing me for a while called me in and said, "Listen, we've tried everything. There's surgery is an option, but the way your back is hurt, I think it's going to cause more damage than it's actually worth doing. You need to recognize that forget about playing sports. This is your new normal." And he actually said this quote I'll never forget: "You will never be able to run 100 yards in your life without significantly hurting your back. And I recommend that you never lift 10 pounds, more than 10 pounds." Now I'm sitting there, I didn't even have a wife, I'm like, I'm going to have kids someday. Are you telling me I can't pick them up? And he said, "Be thankful that you're alive and adjust to what you have." I was down. I was discouraged. I was in a lot of pain as well. 3.5 years later, now I want to describe to you, 2 years later, 3 years later, this is how I walked at church. This is a good day. This is how I was. All the time. I walked like an old man. That was my normal. About 3.5 years later, my brother, who had been with me throughout a time, had enough. He was so frustrated. If you know him, he's animated. He's excited. And he just felt like this was unfair. This was unjust. I didn't deserve this. And he said, here's what we're going to do. And he was just animated about it. He lived in Vancouver. He says, I'm driving to your house in Ridgefield, and we're going to come every night, and we're going to have our parents and family and any friends that want to come, and we're going to lay hands on you every night until God heals you, because this isn't right. I thought, okay. I didn't really have the belief. I knew God could, but I didn't think he would. So we prayed. We prayed. The first night, people cried out. And it meant something to me, but nothing happened. Day 2, nothing happened. Day 3, nothing happened. But I did feel good about feeling support. There was some good. So here we are, praying. And then about a week later, I woke up. I can't explain it, but my back didn't hurt in the morning. Now, to try to understand, my back hurt all the time. It didn't hurt some of the time. My back either hurt or I could not get out of bed. And I had many times where I would, on the floor, try to pick something up, and I laid there. And I had to go to bed there. That was what my back was like. Week into this, I don't feel pain. And I'm like, if this is 1 hour, I'm going to cherish this 1 hour of no pain. 1 hour became 2 hours, became 6 hours, became days. I can't explain it, but I know that God healed me. I know it. To this day, I have done all kinds of things the doctor told me I would never do. Now, I don't know why God healed me. I look back and I know we shifted our prayer and there was more intensity and there was more this. I don't understand it. But I do know this. He healed me. Last week I came up here and I spoke, and when I talked about saying 3 things I was thankful for, you probably didn't even hear it. But when I got on my knees, when I was praying for my wife, I'd already been healed. So what I said last week was one of the things I said, thank you for being my healer. That's why. I am so grateful. When I look at things and I look at what my family did for me, I don't know if it's because we laid hands on me in Jesus' name, and I don't know. But I know what I know, and it happened. I'm going to read a verse in Matthew 18:20, if they put that up there. For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I with them. I believe that. You know, God was with us. He was in the midst of what we were going through. All I can say is, as I look back on this experience, I am so grateful for my family to stand in the gap for me. And that was my struggle. That was my battle. That was my situation that I went through. And it was physical for me, but looking back on it, I wonder if it was also spiritual. There was a lack of faith that I had, that I have a different faith after going through this experience. I'm going to read a couple verses in Ephesians 6. Finally, be strong in the Lord and his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything, to stand. And then verse 18, and pray in the Spirit on all occasions, with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert and always keep on praying for all of the Lord's people. My family stood in the gap for me. They prayed for me, and it made a huge difference. Now I want to ask you, I'm going to ask you, and if I could have Rod come forward, I'm going to ask you a question. I've expressed to you a battle I had. And again, this wasn't a little battle. This was a devastating battle that I went through. What is your battle? Think about the thing that maybe you've even given up hope, thinking it's too big for God. I will say to you, with God, all things are possible. It's not just a verse. I lived it. But not only what is your battle, I'm going to ask you, what is your enemy? Who is your enemy? Often I've heard people say, I'm struggling with my relationship with my parents, or vice versa, or with my friends, or with my siblings. It is very common. I'd ask you, in John 10:10, it says, the thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. If you're struggling with your relationship with your parents or your siblings or friends or whatever, who is the actual enemy? Is it this person that offended this person, and then they were justly offended, so now they're bitter, and now they lash out back over here? So are these two the people? Are they both enemies? Or is the thief? The thief is the devil. He is who I would submit would be the enemy. But the rest of the verse says, I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. I want you, if you could please stand. I want to ask you, right now, I want to ask you again, who is your enemy? And what is your battle? The enemy is going to want fear to control you, anxiety to control you, loneliness, depression. That's the enemy. We might think it's people around us that it's hurting us, and they are part of it. But I want to take the enemy and attack the enemy the way God's telling us to do that, and that's through prayer. So what I'm going to have you do, just like last week, I'm going to have you be willing to reach out. You're going to come forward. Here's the cards again. I want you to write that thing down that is on your heart, that is your battle, that you have not won yet. And I want you to be willing, if you've forgotten stuff or given up hope on something, I want to encourage you to go back and say, God, I'm going to give this to you. Okay? So as we sing, you're going to come forward, write your request down. You're going to go put it over there on the clothespin. But this time we're going to do something different. Instead of returning to your seat, I'm going to have you come on the stage. And I have something here that has a card for everybody. You're going to grab a card. On this card is a list of everybody that's here. You're going to grab the card, and you're going to sit on this stage, and we're going to surround Rod. We're going to try to spread out and be respectful the best we can. But in reverence, we're going to be lifting this person up and what you're struggling with up, okay? So I would again ask you, what is your battle? Who is your enemy?